He sat in the back of that black SUV with $20 million in his accounts, and not a single soul in the world who still knew his face. The vehicle moved slowly down the dusty road, engine humming low against the silence of a village that had stood still while the rest of the world kept turning. Children stopped playing. Old men sitting beneath the giant oak tree lifted their heads. Women carrying water paused mid-step. Nobody in that small town had ever seen a vehicle like that before. The driver stepped out first, straightened his jacket, then opened the rear door with quiet precision. A tall, well-dressed man emerged. His charcoal suit was tailored perfectly. His shoes gleamed like polished obsidian. His watch caught the afternoon sun and threw gold light across the crumbling wall of the church he had attended as a child. He stood still for a moment, removed his sunglasses, and stared. 20 years. 20 years since he had breathed this air. Since he had heard that church bell echo off those same hills. Since he had walked these same broken roads as a young man with nothing in his pockets but hunger and hope. His lips moved. "This is home," he whispered. "I made it back." But when he began walking through the village, something strange happened. People looked at him, then looked away. No smiles, no gasps, no whispers of recognition. An elderly woman he had once called Mama Adiz walked right past him. She did not blink. Two young men selling groundnuts glanced up at his expensive clothes, then went back to counting coins. And then, the one face he had never stopped thinking about. Grace. She walked out of the small fabric shop carrying a bundle of cloth. Her hair had grown. There were small lines near her eyes now. But she was still her. Still the same woman who had held his face in her hands the morning he left and said, "Come back to me, Samuel. Just come back." She looked directly at him. He held his breath. She walked past. Not even a flicker. The richest man to ever return to that town stood among his own people, and nobody knew who he was. But what they didn't know was even more shocking. Because for 20 years, Samuel had been sending money home. Every single month. Sacrificing everything. Living in a tiny flat abroad with secondhand furniture and eating 2 meals a day so the people he loved could live better. And the truth about where that money actually went would change everything. But before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click the subscribe button right now so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. 20 years earlier, Samuel Okafor was the kind of young man people described in one word. Hard. Not hard as in difficult. Hard as an iron. Hard as in the kind of person who wakes before the sun and sleeps after it, who does not complain, who carries the weight of others without ever asking to be thanked. At 22, he lived with his family in a mud brick house on the edge of town. 3 rooms, 7 people, a rusted zinc roof that sang when it rained. His father, Emmanuel, had been sick for 2 years, a chest illness that no one had enough money to diagnose properly. His mother, Florence, sold tomatoes and pepper by the roadside from before dawn until the evening light died. His younger sister, Adana, was brilliant, the kind of student teachers whispered about, the kind whose notebooks were filled even in the margins, but her school fees were never certain. 2 younger brothers, a leaking roof, a father who coughed through the night, and Samuel, every morning, carrying sacks at the local market for whatever small pay the traders would offer. He dreamed at night, big dreams, not for himself, for them. Then one Tuesday afternoon, a recruiter arrived in the village. He wore a press shirt and spoke about overseas contracts, construction work, high pay, legal documentation. He said the figures out loud, and half the crowd laughed. "It's a scam," someone muttered. "No man from this village has ever come back wealthy from abroad," said another. But Samuel sat in the back of that gathering and did not laugh. He did the math quietly in his head. If the numbers were even half true, in 1 year he could clear his father's medical debt. In 2, Adana could finish school. In 5, he did not let himself finish the thought. That evening he told Grace. She went quiet for a long moment. Then her eyes filled. "Samuel, don't do this," she said. "People go and they don't come back." "Not really. Even if their body comes back, something else stays behind." "I'm coming back," he said, "with enough to build something real." "How long?" 2 years. Maybe 3. She wiped her eyes. "I'll wait," she said. "But Samuel, 2 years. Not more." His mother cried openly when he told her. She held his face and prayed over him in the old way, pressing her forehead to his and closing her eyes and whispering things only God was meant to hear. His father said very little. He just gripped Samuel's shoulder the night before departure, looked him in the eye, and spoke one quiet sentence. Sometimes a man must walk far so the people he loves can live better. The next morning, Samuel left with one small suitcase, a few $100s he had saved across years of market work, and promises he intended to keep. The first years nearly broke him. The job was real but brutal. 14-hour shifts on construction sites in freezing temperatures. A dormitory room shared with 11 other men from different countries. All of them grinding. All of them sending money home. All of them sleeping with their phones tucked under their pillows like children clutching toys. There were nights Samuel ate bread and water to save an extra $50 for that month's transfer. There were mornings he woke at 4, dressed in the dark, and walked to work telling himself the same thing his father had said. Every month, without fail, he sent money home. And every month, his older brother Daniel sent back a letter. Everything is fine. Mama and Papa are grateful. Adana's fees are paid. Keep going, brother. Samuel believed every word. Because Daniel was family. Or so he thought. As the years passed, something in Samuel shifted. He learned. He observed. He saved differently. He took night classes. He made connections on construction sites with engineers who liked his precision, his hunger, his refusal to complain. By year 5, he was a site supervisor. By year 8, a small contractor. By year 12, he had a company of his own. The money he sent home grew. From hundreds to thousands. Then tens of thousands. He imagined his parents sitting in a new house. He imagined Adana graduating. He imagined returning one day to a family that was whole and healed and proud. But the phone calls had grown shorter over the years. Daniel always had a reason. Bad network. Busy market. The children were sick. Samuel told himself it was normal. Distance did strange things to closeness. Then came a Thursday in November. A call from an unknown number. Samuel almost ignored it. Samuel. The voice was old, trembling. This is Benson, your father's old friend. The one who used to sell kerosene near your house. Samuel straightened. Baba Benson? Is everything? Your mother passed, Samuel. A long pause. 3 years ago. The words did not land immediately. They seemed to float in the air between his ear and his brain, refusing to settle. What? Florence. She died. 3 years ago, November. And your father? Emmanuel. He went 6 months after her. He couldn't manage without her. You know how they were. Samuel sat down on the floor. Not on a chair. On the floor. Like the ground beneath him had given way. Nobody told me, he said, barely above a whisper. I know. Baba Benson said quietly. That is why I found your number. I thought you deserved to know. I'm sorry, son. The call ended. Samuel sat on that floor for a long time. He had missed their deaths. He had missed their burials. He had missed the last years of their lives. Years he had been funding from afar. Years he had believed were filled with comfort and peace, because Daniel said so. Because Daniel kept saying so. Everything is fine. Keep going, brother. A grief hit him that was unlike anything he had ever known. Not just the grief of losing them, but the grief of having been kept from them. The grief of absence made permanent by deception. He wept until there was nothing left. Then something hardened in him. He stopped crying. And he started asking questions. If you're still watching up to now, type, I'm still here, in the comment section. This story is only getting deeper. Over the next 6 months, Samuel made quiet calls to people back home. Former neighbors. Old school friends. A cousin who had moved to a nearby city. Piece by piece, the picture assembled itself like a broken mosaic, each fragment uglier than the last. Adana had dropped out of school in year 3. Not because the fees weren't sent, they were. But because Daniel had told her the money wasn't coming. That Samuel had forgotten them. That she should stop waiting and find something practical to do. The family house still had the same leaking roof. His parents had received some money, but a fraction. Enough to keep them quiet. Not enough to give them the life Samuel had been paying for. And Daniel? Daniel had built a mansion. 2 new properties in the city. 3 vehicles. A business. A reputation as the most successful man to come from their bloodline. Built entirely on money that was never his. When Samuel discovered this, he sat very still for a very long time. Then he called his lawyer. I need everything, he said. Every transfer record. Every date. Every amount. I need it documented. And I need it verified. Samuel, what are you planning? I'm going home, he said, but not the way anyone expects. For 6 months, he gathered evidence without making a single sound. Bank records, witness statements, affidavits from relatives who had seen Daniel's lifestyle and never understood where it came from. Documents that told, year by year, the story of a man who had stolen from a brother who trusted him completely. The total stolen exceeded $2 million. Samuel did not rage. He did not call Daniel. He did not warn anyone. He simply prepared. He also found Adana. She was living with her husband in a small town, working as a seamstress, still brilliant, still quietly hopeful, but carrying the specific sadness of a person who once had a door open before them and then watched it close. Adana, he said when she answered the phone. Silence. It's Samuel. She started crying before he could say another word. I thought you forgot us, she managed. Daniel said. He said you stopped sending. He said you had a new family abroad and… Adana. His voice was very steady. I never stopped. Not 1 month. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? A long pause. Yes, she whispered. Good. Because I'm coming home. And when I do, everything is going to change. He arrived in secret, rented a room in a guest house 3 villages away, drove into town in the black SUV with tinted windows, watching, listening, learning the shape of the world that had formed in his absence. He saw the monument Daniel had erected in the town square, a small plaque with his own name on it, commemorating his generous contributions to community development. He saw Grace's small fabric shop, the one she had built herself, with her own hands, with no help from anyone. He saw the church where his parents were buried, their graves simple and unadorned. He visited their graves alone, at midnight, with a lantern. He said nothing for a long time. Then he placed his hand on the earth and said, I'm here, Mama. I'm here, Papa. I'm sorry I came late. He sat there until morning. The annual village gathering fell on a Saturday in October. Every family came. The marketplace was cleared. A stage was built near the old oak tree. Music played. Children ran between the adults. Elders sat in the places of honor. And Daniel stood at the front, dressed in an agbada so white it seemed to glow, receiving praise like a man who had earned every thread of it. Our brother Daniel has done much for this community, the community head said. His generosity is known. His name is respected. Today we honor him. The crowd applauded. Daniel smiled and raised his hand in acknowledgement, playing the role he had been playing for 20 years. Then a stranger walked onto the stage. Nobody stopped him because the authority with which he moved made it seem like he belonged there. His suit was dark. His face was calm. He did not rush. He took the microphone. The crowd stirred. Daniel frowned and leaned toward an aide. Who was that? No one had an answer. The man on the stage stood quietly for a moment, looking out at the crowd. He looked at the oak tree. He looked at the church. He looked at the women near the back, carrying babies the same way his mother used to carry his youngest brother. Then he spoke. 20 years ago, he said, a young man left this village with one suitcase, a few $100s, and a promise. The crowd went very still. He promised his mother he would come back. He promised his father. He promised the woman he loved. And every single month for 20 years, he kept another promise. He sent money home. Money for food, for school fees, for medicine, for a better roof, for a future. An elder near the front narrowed her eyes. That man was not celebrated here. That man's name was slowly buried, while someone else wore his sacrifice like a crown. Daniel stood up. Who are you? He said sharply. This is a private. My name, the man said quietly, is Samuel Okafor, Emmanuel's son, Florence's firstborn. The silence that followed was total. Then it shattered. Gasps tore through the crowd. A woman screamed. Children looked around confused as the adults around them broke apart emotionally, some covering their mouths, some grabbing the person next to them, some beginning to cry, without fully understanding why. Grace dropped the cup she was holding. She stared at him. She took one step forward, then another. Her hand rose slowly to her mouth. Samuel looked at her for a moment, just a moment, and then turned back to the crowd. I am not here for revenge, he said. I want you to understand that first. I am here because truth has been homeless in this village for too long. A large screen had been set up behind him, intended for the celebration slideshow. Now it showed documents, bank transfer records, 20 years of monthly deposits, property registrations in Daniel's name, witness statements, legal affidavits. Every page projected large enough for everyone to read. Daniel's face had gone the color of ash. "He stole more than $2 million, Samuel said. His voice did not shake. "Money meant for our parents. Money meant for Adana's education. Money meant for this community. For 20 years, he took what belonged to others and called it generosity." Daniel stepped forward, mouth open, hand raised. "Samuel, listen, it wasn't like. Our mother died," Samuel said softly. "And you did not tell me. Our father died, and you did not tell me. I was sending money home for their medicine, and I did not know they were already gone." The words hung in the air. Daniel said nothing. The crowd looked at him and saw, for the first time, exactly who he was. But then Samuel did something nobody expected. He turned back to the crowd, and his voice softened. "I have set up a scholarship fund in my parents' names. Every child in this village who qualifies for secondary school will have their fees paid. No family will ever again watch their child's future disappear because of money." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I have also funded a medical center, built and equipped, which opens next month. No one in this village should ever again die from an illness that could have been treated because they couldn't afford the journey to the city. And I have established a community trust, managed by a board of elders and local teachers, not controlled by me or by any single family. It will be funded annually. It belongs to this village." He paused. "All of it is in memory of Emmanuel and Florence Okafor, my father, my mother, who deserved better than what they received." The crowd did not applaud. They wept, openly, unashamed, the kind of collective crying that happens when an entire community recognizes a truth it should have seen years earlier. As the sun sank low behind the hills, Samuel walked to the churchyard. Two simple graves, two names carved in modest stone. He stood between them and did not say anything for a long time. Then he heard footsteps behind him. Grace. She stopped a few feet away, arms wrapped around herself, eyes red from crying. She looked at him the way people look at something they thought was gone forever and cannot quite believe is standing in front of them. "You said 2 years, she said quietly. "I know. It's been 20. I know, Grace." She looked at the graves, then back at him. "Did you know I almost forgot what your voice sounded like?" Her voice broke. "Almost." He turned to face her fully. "I never forgot yours." They stood there a long time, not saying anything else, as the light faded and the village grew quiet around them. There was no fairy tale ending, no simple reunion, no bow placed neatly on top of 20 years of loss. Some things that are broken do not become unbroken. They become something else. Something healed, maybe, but different, bearing the shape of what was lost. Samuel knew this. Before he left the churchyard that evening, he crouched beside his mother's grave and pressed his palm flat against the earth. "I came home too late," he said. "But I came home." The wind moved through the old oak tree. And somewhere in it, if you listened the right way, it sounded almost like peace. Because that is what Samuel finally understood, standing between the graves of two people whose entire lives had been poured into his own. Money can build houses, but it cannot replace lost time. Success can earn respect, but it cannot buy back the moments you missed. And trust, genuine, deep, bone marrow trust, once broken by the hand of someone who should have been a guardian, may scar over, but it never fully disappears. The greatest wealth in any life is not what we accumulate. It is the people who still speak our names when we are gone. The people who light a candle for us. The people who press their hands to the earth and whisper, "I remember." Samuel had all the money in the world, and the only thing he truly wanted was the thing no money could return to him. More time. What would you have done if you were Samuel? Would you have forgiven Daniel, or would justice have come first? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about sacrifice, family, and the people you love, please subscribe to our channel and share this video. Someone out there needs to hear this today. We'll see you in the next one.